Greetings, one and all. So, the NHL have seen the way the game is being played in their league, and there are several things they aren't too happy about. This has caused the league to demand their rules on faceoffs and slashings to be better enforced for the upcoming season, which they have been experimenting with during the preseason taking place over the next few weeks. The crackdown on slashings concerns the need for more penalties in situations where a player gets his stick up near the hands of the puck carrier. This is being done in the hope to stop any more nasty wounds like the one suffered by Mark Mathot last season. I completely understand the need to penalise this type of play more, and I have no problem with this step forward. However, let's turn our attention towards the crackdown on faceoffs, which I currently do very much have a problem with. For those of you unaware, the crackdown on faceoffs can be explained like this. When taking a faceoff, both centres aren't allowed to have their feet past the lines on their side of the faceoff dot. Good start, seems fair. Also, wingers aren't allowed to have a skate in the faceoff dot. Alright then, they want to keep it fair for both centres, so they have to win it as opposed to a winger rushing in to take control. Nothing too crazy so far. But this next bit is where I have the problem. A centre can be kicked out of the faceoff if the rules mentioned prior aren't followed by either the centre or the wingers. Fine. But if it happens a second time, then a faceoff violation is called and the offending team is given a delay of game penalty. What? A delay of game penalty after 2 strikes on a face-off? That seems a little excessive to me. I don't know about you guys. Every game so far this preseason seems to have been affected by this enforcement of the face-off rules, and players are left having to adjust on the fly, with some not really knowing what they can and can't do. Add to that the fact that the referees are also trying to judge it on the fly, and sometimes making the right calls and sometimes not, and the situation just becomes a bit of a mess really, with penalties being handed out left, right and centre, which slows down the game tremendously. In my mind, the only delay of game penalty should be given to the referees for slowing the game to a grinding halt every time they make this call. Face-offs seem to take 3 times as long now because of the constant whistles and the demand for the refs to further put their stamp on the game and make sure they are noticed. Now, I get that they're just doing their job and it's not really the refs' fault as they're just enforcing the rules. It's this silly rule that I think needs to change as it's the cause of so many unnecessary penalties in this preseason. To give you a few examples of how big of a problem this is at the moment. In the Chicago-Columbus preseason game, there were 17 penalties. In the Rangers-Devils preseason game last night, which I stayed up till 2:30 to watch, the majority, if not all, of the 14 penalties they took before the end of the second period were the result of the face-off crackdown, along with the 17 penalties in the Chicago-Columbus game. How is either team, whether benefiting or not from these calls, being on the power play or not, supposed to get into any sort of rhythm and try to win a game with their structure if a penalty is going to be called every few minutes? It makes the game so fragmented and disjointed and less fun to watch, which is the worst thing out of the entire situation. It seems as if there is a penalty every 3 minutes in the games taking place at the moment, which slows the game down completely. Sure, penalties means more power plays, and more power plays mean more goals. But these changes slow the game down far too much, where any momentum that either team has before the face-off penalty is lost due to everything taking so much longer. The NHL has shifted to a speed game over the last few years, as more younger guys and more faster guys are finding their way onto NHL rosters. So why try and slow it down with something like this? Also, half of the skill of being a top face-off man in the league is knowing the tricks of the trade to win the puck for your team, and essentially, quote-unquote, cheating in some way. Whether that is the right thing to do is very much up for debate, and this next question might be somewhat deflective of the current situation, but think of it this way. Out of all of the problems the NHL has this moment in time, do face-offs really need to be on the list at all? Let alone near the top? In my opinion, not really. So why are we getting such tough enforcement of this rule? Can someone please help me understand? Also, several players have expressed their discontent with the stronger enforcement of this face-off rule, especially none other than Brad Marchand, who called it, and I quote, an absolute joke. And then he goes on to say, and I quote, That's how you ruin the game of hockey. Some might find that melodramatic from Marchand, and he's always been known as a bit of a big character. And I've never been a huge fan of Marchand myself, but I think he's right in this situation. This is probably the first time that I actually agree with him on something. Also, some may argue that the players need to just get over these changes and spend the time adjusting to the rules rather than whining about it like some might say Marchand has. And I think that's a very fair argument, as it doesn't seem like this rule is going to change anytime soon. However, if a growing number of players begin to show their discontent with this rule, and the coaching staffs across the league express their hatred for it, which they might well do, then something will have to be done, which I think it will, because these violations slow the game down so much. Hockey is supposed to be fast-paced and intense, and this rule takes those elements away, takes away the fun, takes away the interest, takes away the competitiveness. It's, oh, you've got your skate a millimetre into the face-off dot. Penalty, you know? I think it's a bit ridiculous. So I want to know what you think about this situation, ladies and gentlemen. Are these face-off violation penalties helping or hindering the National Hockey League? Also, have you seen any of the preseason games and seen its effect? What do you think that that's had effect on a specific game? Not necessarily all the preseason games as a whole. Like, did you watch the Chicago-Columbus game? Did you watch the Pittsburgh-Detroit game last night? Did that have an impact in that game? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear what you guys think. But thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you have enjoyed. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share, or watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye!